It's going to be very tough here. The George Floyd case, Derek Chauvin's attorneys, of course, are going to introduce and new court documents that have been filed that show that George Floyd had what the Hennepin County Medical Examiner described as lethal doses, a fatal dose of fentanyl in George Floyd's system. Man's name is Dr. Andrew Baker. Dr. Andrew Baker, who's the Hennepin County Medical Examiner, said that George Floyd had so much fentanyl in his system that if he were found dead at home alone and no other apparent cause, this could be acceptable to call it an overdose. Deaths have been certified with levels of 3. There was another document where the Hennepin County Examiner said that is a fatal level of fentanyl under normal circumstances. Now, he also added, I am not saying this killed him, but this is the kind of complicated information that conflicts with the sort of black and white narrative, no pun intended, that a cop jamming his knee in this man's neck for 9.5 minutes killed him. When you've got the medical examiner on record as saying that if he was at home alone, they would have called this an overdose because, quote, that is a fatal level of fentanyl under normal circumstances. Now, I report this to you because this is coming from the trial. I don't say any of this to try to minimize the horrific act of an officer with his knee in a handcuffed man's neck for 9.5 minutes. And yesterday I watched the testimony of one of the eyewitnesses. I think he was in his 60s, older gentleman, older than me. He started breaking down and crying. He had to stop. He was sobbing as George Floyd was saying, please get off me, I can't breathe. Mama, they're going to kill me. It's a horrible thing to watch. And of course, what's terrible about the George Floyd episode, again, there's a black and white narrative. You realize he was saying, I can't breathe when he was standing up. He was saying, I can't breathe when he was sitting in the cruiser. That was something, he was panicked and evidently overdosing and did not want to go to jail for passing that fake $20 bill. The young man who called the police on him, there's a picture of that young man, the manager of the store, young guy, who called the police because George Floyd tried to buy something with a counterfeit $20 bill. They called the police. Police came. So that young man is watching in horror as Derek Chauvin has his knee grinding in George Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes. The young man said on this witness stand yesterday, if I hadn't called the cops, maybe this wouldn't have happened. He said he was racked with guilt. He was guilty for calling the police. This is a really complicated story. And what causes even more pain, I know it, I just know it in my heart, is the fact that this evidence, these facts, these truths make it even harder for people who have already been anguished by this 9.5 minutes of a police officer grinding his knee in the man's neck. That 9.5 minutes led to a shaken nation to erupt in violence, to erupt in unacceptable looting, running through stores and stealing things, burning down buildings, but also taking to the streets peacefully, protesting this act of police brutality. And a whole lot of people, many, many people, I'd say way more people were peacefully protesting than violently protesting. And that's just how I see it.